Okay, so I'm going to power through this. So what I'm going to be talking about in this talk is the creation of effective online video lectures. The data that I'm going to be presenting comes from a third-year zoology course in the Faculty of Science at UNSW. It's a moderately sized course of about 40 to 70 students, and the data is collected across multiple years. The course is entirely online and asynchronous. And again, as I said, I'm going to be presenting information on how to create and develop those really effective video lectures. About a third of the class self-report is coming from a non-English speaking background, and most of those in the course are coming from a Chinese background. I was able to obtain funding through the Science Student Experience grant, which allowed me to first transcribe the videos into English that are then converted into foreign language. And students are simply given the option of watching either regular viewing or one of the captioned or subtitle options that are available. At the end of the course, I would survey the students and ask them, well, which format did you find particularly useful and which ones did you actually use? Really interesting. Over half the class would use the English captioned videos. Very few would use the foreign language content. And I just remind you that only a third of the class are reporting as coming from a non-English speaking background. So clearly the captions are being used across the board, regardless of a student's background. And the reason being, when I ask them, is because it essentially improves comprehension for them. They can hear the information and they can read it at the same time through the captions, and that reinforces the comprehension of that content. The other advantage of those English transcripts that are created is that you can go through them and identify scientific jargon and then create glossaries that are associated with each of those lectures. I've got to be honest, I was a little skeptical about whether students would actually use this. It turns out that in any given year, about 3/4 of the class would actually rely heavily on the glossaries. And the reason being is because it provides additional information, clarification of terms, but also new information or further information on concepts that are presented in the video that they don't fully grasp. And so that really kind of helps that penny drop moment. In terms of recording your lectures in your office for 50 minutes and then uploading them to a format such as Echo 360. I can tell you that it's exhausting for you. You already know that, but it's also exhausting for your students. Look, at the start of your course, maybe 2/3 of the students will be watching those lectures in full. By the end of the course, I'd hazard a guess that less than half of your students are going to be watching those lectures in full. So there's a progressive decline in engagement in online videos. If you create interactive videos, on the other hand, you can improve the engagement for all of your students to 100%. There's a little bit of a drop-off in the last lecture on the screen here, but basically you can really improve the effectiveness of your lectures. What do I mean by interactive? So it's recording short video content using something like H5P to then create these lecture sandwiches where a student watches a little bit of video, does an activity that reinforces that concept, watches a little bit more video, perhaps does a quiz that reinforces that concept. All these kind of more complex interactive videos of choose your own adventure type lectures where students effectively choose the sequence of video content that they see during the course of that lecture. Why do you find students engage with this a lot more? Is because they really like the lecture sandwich, they like the activities, they also like the self-directed interactive, and it's purely because they just find them more engaging, which it's just great because put a lot of work in trying to design these lectures to be exactly that, more engaging. And this explains why 100% of the students are watching those lectures in full throughout pretty much the majority of the course. Look, foreign language subtitles, they're really appreciated. They're expensive and they're not really used. What is used, English captioned, and regardless of a student's background, relatively cheap. Glossaries that you can then get from those captions, really, really heavily used. And again, the interactive video format is highly effective. But look, at the end of the day, the only thing that you're going to do differently is be super nice to your students. Every opportunity and engagement that you have with your students, just be nice, just be personable, and you'll be amazed about how much just being a human being to your students will actually improve the engagement of those students as your course progresses. Look, I'd love to hear from you. My email is up on the screen here.